Philippine vampires. Unbelievable. They can't stand the sun, guys. They can't stand it. But I didn't live my whole life in 30 degrees either.
Yeah.
I left, grew up in multiple.
Yeah, the place where when it's hot, and when it's cold.
Yeah, there's
Like,
nothing
very
in
cold.
between. When you get to fall and spring, it could be all of the above.
Kung sa Ilonggo pa, why ka man kapakadtuan bala?
Whatever that means. Okay, so Lynn and I are going to get at it, and we have our ramp started now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll give you an update here real shortly. Real shortly?
Shortly.
Now. Week 11, day 6. Back on track. Figuring out which days of the week it is. But let's have a quick look at Lynn's garden before we get to our walls of AAC and no hollow block. The alabati has got new shoots all over the place in there now. And Lynn was planting sweet potato and carrot and such down at the other end of the property. And where we thought our plantain and banana tree were done, they seem to be doing okay. The goat crisis of a couple of weeks ago has been averted. Sometimes you beat the plants up and they do really well. And we're taking our dwarf coconuts to the next step, which is getting them in soil so that the husks will start to break down. Let's recap wall by wall. Hopefully that noise isn't too much. This one here needs one more course and then a fill layer. The reason we've held off is that we want to have some time to experiment with some clips up at the top there. So that's why we're holding off on that. I'll finish with the wall behind me last. This wall here is the wall facing the open deck, and we're planning for a 60 by 60 window there. So the guys are going to continue this until they get the top course ready to go. And I'll show you what Michael is doing, and that might give you a little bit better idea. Now on this row here, there's going to be a 60 by 60 window here in the ensuite, and two 80 by 1.2 windows. So we are going to drop a piece of rebar in here down the length and anchor that in, and that will secure up a wall that has windows on it. I'm told don't need it, but we'll do it anyway. What has been missed, I didn't realize, guys, in my videos, but we take this little wall as an example here. There are underpinnings underneath there, and I realize in none of my videos I've showed any of these pins along the floor to anchor the AAC. So just so you know, it's not just straight adhesive. Joseph and the guys are working on the more difficult wall here. It's going to take a lot more planning on this one. We want to make sure that we have that, right angled and all of that type of thing for the kitchen. Once that's done, then we can go crazy and start cutting Michael loose on getting the electrical worked on there. Similarly on this wall, as I started, we've got to deal with how we're going to pin to the beam. And so that's why that wall is staying like that for now. Outside here, we've got our ramp started, and that's well underway. Again, all of our hollow block gets filled 100%. Those hollow blocks in this country are just too weak, in my opinion. Let's address the $64,000 question that I get. Would I do AAC again? Well, we did the garage last year for an experiment, and that was what helped us make up our mind. There are a number of other products out there, guys, ones that have a hardy flex and a finish on them that are foam on the inside. But sorry, I've reviewed that with some Canadian builders, and any slight fire in the house, all of that will melt. And you know, all of the fill that you will have put with concrete and the skin on the outside, it will mean nothing if you have a fire in there. So the fire rating on those is very, very low. The AAC is very, very good. As a matter of fact, it has a higher rating than hollow block and concrete. Whoops. The impact tests and the compression tests on the AAC far outweigh any hollow block, even fully filled. But when it comes to things like ramps, I'll go that route. Now, in the future though, Lynn and I have talked about this. We probably wouldn't use hollow block again. We would probably take a little bit more time and actually put in, you know, the phenolic and do a free pour, a full pour, because the amount of time that you're saving or wasting on the hollow block versus doing a free pour, you know, could you really be saving any money? Because the amount of concrete that you're doing, if you're fulfilling the concrete hollow block, which is what the majority of the people in this country do not do, right? Even on the rebar. We've seen, you know, a hole this big with a rebar sticking in it and a glop of concrete about that big in there. And they think that's good enough. A lot of times they just grab a little handful and drop it in there. Sorry guys, if that wants to give way, it'll just break that hollow block, because it's really, really soft stuff. Now, there are a couple of other products out there. There's one from Waltech, which is, again, it's got a skin already built onto it. It's already got the internal bracing on it. But it requires, it requires a monopore. But you have to do a lot of bracing, which means you're going to drive a lot of nails into the ground. But it's a free pour product. And again, its finishing is very, very fast as well. But again, a lot of concrete and a lot of rebar. So the cost savings, I don't think there's much cost savings on it other than maybe shortening up the labor time, which the labor is dirt cheap here, guys. So would we do another with AAC? Yeah. But we are planning on doing some really, really basic houses here for some family and that type of thing, where we would only do one skim coat and then just paint. Probably just do hollow block. Yeah, but again, location, 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 and start from there, right? We're on the Daggett. I'm not going to have cocoa lumber and stuff for my roof, etc., etc. So there you go, a little bit of a wrap up from this old carcass on would we do AAC again? Yes, it's very, very fast. As a matter of fact, if we had had a full crew this week, we would be very, very close. And had we had the block on day one, I think we'd be very, very close to having all 7 walls up and ready for skim coat. We would, you know, because we know that from the garage last year. Okay, the guys are dry fitting the window. I'm going to go have a look. Another finicky day today, but that's okay. That's part of the learning curve. And again, we've made a commitment to the Massoon's helpers to get them learning some more craft. So let's get through to the house here. Give you a wrap up for week 11. So again, guys, I apologize. I didn't realize that in all of these walls, I never showed one video with any of the pins coming through the floor. So it's not just adhesive. We've got pins underneath the floor here, okay? Now, it's not required. It's not needed, apparently, but I feel more comfortable about putting a piece of rebar in here because we will have 3 windows on this side. After the windows are up, we will put another piece of rebar in. And let me show you that example. So that's the rebar there that we've got for underneath this 60 by 60. The lintel is screwed together with ready rod and rebar. So we welded ready rod onto the end of the rebar. And that's how we make these lintels. This is exactly the way some of the Indian and Malaysian videos did. So what did we accomplish? Well, I count 1, 2, 3, 4 walls. Granted, they're not 100% complete, but then we also got pieces of the kitchen done and pieces of the bedroom done. So all in all, you know, I think we're on track for very similar to what we did on the garage. The difference is we've had to deal with the electrical and getting it to where I want it. And now that the walls are up, you can see there's 2 plugs there. There's the outlet for the desk there. And And over here, we've got an outlet. You're not going to be able to see it, I don't think. Nope, can't see it. Anyway, for the deck, there's 2 plugs over here and another plug here for the island of the kitchen. And Michael and I have been talking about how we're going to deal with the plugs and everything here. So we have a 9-position panel. We bought an oversized one for a 60 square meter house, but I want a separate breaker for my fridge, just like in Canada. I want separate breakers for the hot plate and kettle, if you want to call it. You don't have common circuits for your kitchen, not in Canada anyway. We will leave this wall quite late because that means having to shut the water off to deal with stuff. Now in the kitchen, this was by design, although we missed it by that much. The water was supposed to be inside, but with all the cocoa lumber and supports and everything that were here, couldn't quite be achieved with where we wanted to get on the electrical panel. It would have meant moving one of these pipes underground, and too late, too bad, so sad, just a slight adjustment. And there we go. And this is the view from what will be a floor-to-ceiling glass sliding door. Later, Gators, this ends week 11. Let's see what week 12 brings us.